Hello my YouTube friends, I'm back today to talk about hydrating skincare products that you can start to incorporate if you find that you've got dehydrated skin. Now this is close to my heart because last year in winter or coming up to winter, for the first time I had such dehydrated skin. Now dehydration and dry skin are very different things. I normally have oily combination skin with like oily T-zone and sort of normal outer sides of my face. So dry skin is not my issue. I don't ever get like the flaky dry bits where you really do need like a thicker cream. But what I noticed I was experiencing a lot last winter was dehydration, and you can tell that you're dehydrated when your skin can look a little bit dull. It also looks like it's losing a bit of volume, and you get these tiny, like fine crepey lines, and it almost looks like you've got just more texture. And when you move, you have these really fine little lines sort of everywhere. And that's just because you don't have the plumpness in your skin that you normally have. So if you do find you have that and you're slathering your face with like thick creams, it might not be fixing the problem because it is likely due to dehydration, which is water loss. Now, I don't know why my skin decided all of a sudden to be very dehydrated in the cooler months, but the good thing is that over the past year, I've been implementing a lot more hydration steps in my skincare routine. So I haven't actually experienced that this year at all, which is fantastic. So I'm very happy. So these are my top 5 skincare tips that I've noticed has made a big difference from last winter to this winter. Probably the number 1 tip is incorporating a hyaluronic acid. It sounds really simple, but it's a little bit more complicated than you think. So hyaluronic acid, here I have a bit of a cheaper one. It's from Innisfree, and this one's actually really good. It's got 8 types of hyaluronic acid. The problem with hyaluronic acid as well is that there's different types of hyaluronic acid and different people will benefit from different types. So it can be really hard to find one that suits you. You might need to play around and try a few out first. I also find that if you go for a really, really cheap one, for me, they don't really do much. They sort of just sit on the skin. They don't really soak in. This one by Innisfree, I think is a really great one because it strikes a good balance with quality that in my opinion works, but it's also not super expensive. If I want to go a bit bougie, I've also got one from Medik8. I really like Medik8. They're a really great brand. This is the Hydrate B5 Intense. So it's got a few things as well as hyaluronic acid. I tend to use these during the day. I find that they work really well. At night, I really like the Estee Lauder Advanced Night Repair. This one I've noticed I sometimes wear this during the day as well, but this one does have hyaluronic acid in it, and I find that it really makes my skin feel quite cushioned the next day. So I use some during the day and I use some at night, and sometimes I change, but I do use them both day and night. I also have a little eye cream that I've started implementing as well when I feel like I can be bothered. Now, hyaluronic acid is great because it can hold a lot of like liquid, so a lot of moisture, so it can really keep it to the skin. Now, the problem is because it does hold moisture, if you don't actually put it next to something that's very wet, then you might find that it'll actually be drawing moisture out of your skin if you're in like a dry climate, which is what I noticed in the past. Often I found hyaluronic acid made my skin even drier, and it was simply because I wasn't applying it the correct way. So I find it very important to use, but it's also very important to use over a spray or a mist or some sort of hydrating toner or essence. So this flows into tip number 2. I do sort of wet my face before I put on my hyaluronic acid. So after I've washed my face or just as I've got out of the shower, I do this morning and night as well. I will put on a hydrating toner. So these are all examples of sort of hydrating toners that I've got. I've got one from Bioderma. I've got this 77% one that I've barely used, but it's gone viral on TikTok, so I'm keen to really get into this one. I've got a Nourishing Milky Toner with hyaluronic acid from Paula's Choice. So there's a whole bunch that you can use. With these, I would just pour some in my hand like that. I will wet my hand and sort of pat it on. Or if you want something a bit easier, you can use a mist. This is the Dermalogica Hyaluronic Ceramide Mist. Really easy just to mist on your skin. So you can even do it throughout the day. Oh, it's very refreshing. So once you've got your face wet, then you put on your hyaluronic acid. So that combination I think is very, very important to make the hyaluronic acid hold the moisture to your skin and deliver that hydration. Whereas sometimes if you just use the hyaluronic acid, it can actually be pulling moisture from your skin and making things worse. My third tip is to double moisturize. I didn't think this was a thing. I never had to do it in the past. Sometimes I'd even skip moisturizer because I had oily skin. But I've learned that if you have quite dry or dehydrated skin, sometimes you need to do a second layer of moisturizer to really sort of seal everything in. Now, there are products that are dedicated specifically for this. They're usually called sleeping masks. So you put all your skincare steps on, you put your moisturizer on, and then over the top, one is like an example from Laneige. This is the water sleeping mask. It's essentially like a really light sort of cream gel consistency. And I've just opened this one up because I think it's great for winter. So you can just lock everything in and it just keeps everything sort of in there, working, hydrated. I also like to do this with any simple moisturizer. Often what I'll do is I'll pair a sort of a lighter one and a richer one. This one from Eucerin, I think it is. I buy these on iHerb and they're very, very nourishing, but they don't sort of cause me milia or breakouts. They're not too heavy. I also really like the Clinique Moisture Surge Intense. This is a great one to either put as your first moisturizer step or even to layer. Now, what I tend to do is, because it is a lot to put on your face, often I'll do my nighttime skincare, let it settle a bit, and then just before I'm about to go to bed, I'm like, do I feel a little bit dry? Yeah, I do. I'll go and then I'll put the second layer of moisturizer on there, and it just really helps keep things nice and plump throughout the night. So double moisturizing, I found, has helped a lot. I do want to mention that there is a trend of putting Vaseline over your face, so it does the same thing. It locks in all the moisture. Because I have dehydrated skin, I don't have dry skin, I feel like that is too much. I did try it last winter. I just found that it was like I had just a sticky lip gloss all over my face. I was getting like hair and fluff and stuck into it, and it was just really uncomfortable. So I didn't like doing that personally, but if you have very dry skin, that could be an option. I prefer using sort of like more like a sleeping mask or just another moisturizer to finish it all off. My fourth tip is to switch some sort of harsher actives that you might have in your normal routine to a more lipid-based formula. So an example is I like to use the Medik8 Retinol. This is the Crystal Retinol 6, so it's a 0.6% retinol cream-based formula. So it's got a pump, you get some out, it's like a cream. In winter, I find it's more beneficial to switch to something like the Medik8. This is the Intelligent Retinol, and this is an oil-based. So you can see it's got a dropper, you can see it's in an oil. You just need to use a few drops on your skin, you pat it in, and I just find that it's a much sort of more gentle way to apply it. And my skin doesn't sort of get as irritated from it. And I really like Medik8 because I find that they do offer quite a lot of sort of serums in an like lipid base or an oil base. And another one is this Lipid Vitamin C Radiant Serum. I find that for me, especially in winter, vitamin C can really trigger irritation. But in that sort of oil base, it's actually very, very gentle and very sort of calming for the skin. So it's a way that you can get your actives that you want, but in just a slightly more gentle way, but it's just as effective. And my last tip is if you're having a particularly bad sort of dehydrated skin day, just relax in the evening with a hydrating sheet mask. I find that it can really help sort of add that moisture into your skin, especially if you keep them on for like half an hour. Just relax with a book, keep it on. This one is from Mecca Cosmetica. It's a hydrating one. This is a hyaluronic acid one from Garnier. So you can get different price points, but they can really help plump the skin. Obviously, it's not something that you can probably afford to do every night or have time to do, but it is good for if you just are feeling like your skin is particularly bad one day. Another thing I really like is eye masks. So I find that especially if I get some of those dehydration fine lines around here, these sort of jelly hydrating eye masks can be really great. They're really easy to apply. I tend to put them on like while I'm brushing my teeth and getting ready in the morning. And if you buy them in packs, there's quite a few brands that do these sort of packs where you get a tub of like 30 pairs. So you're not having to buy the individual packs every time. It becomes a lot more cost effective. So you can realistically use this every few days if you wanted to. If you were interested in implementing these steps, I would say do it gradually. You don't want to freak out your skin by changing things up completely, but even just incorporating something like a hydrating toner, and then another try another night where you're incorporating a double layer of moisturizer. You'll sort of slowly be able to see what's working and what's not, and hopefully you can turn your skin around. Also, there's going to be people in the comments that say, just drink more water. I don't think that's as helpful as you might think. I have tried to incorporate drinking a lot more water, and it doesn't really make much of a dent. The only time I've experienced drinking or in having a lot of extra water in your body and it actually making my skin feel quite plump was when I was in hospital. I'd just given birth to my second baby and I was on a drip for a couple of days, and I think I had like extra 6 liters of water each day, something like that. And I was noticing that my skin was quite plump, but I was also had really swollen feet and legs, and I just don't think that's realistic. So I do think it's a balance of, yes, drinking more water, but to get the effect into your skin, you need to actually put something on the outside of your skin as well. And a lot of these steps I found have been very helpful. I've kept most of them up over the past year, so my skin has been hydrated all the way through. And so when it does get to times where we've got more heaters on or the weather's a lot more harsh, I find that my skin is just bouncing back a lot quicker than it did previously. Let me know how you go with dehydrated skin. Do you incorporate some of these steps? What are your favorite hydrating products? Love to hear in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.